Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Proto Man here once again, and I'm back for yet again for the likes of the Mexi Toys videos here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Metroid 2, The Return of Samus for the Game Boy. So, last time we have basically managed to able to, I would say the last time we actually went through for this game so far, is the fact that we've basically done everything on Phase 7, and now we ended up at the forms of in Phase 8. So as a result though, technically speaking for Phase 8, that basically we've almost done with Phase 8. So as a result though, that's as far as saying goes. And today for this video, maybe potentially, this game might actually be the, well, potentially speaking for this video, it's going to be the grand finale of this game, because obviously, as you can see on screen, we've only got about 4 Metroids left, and then as a result, I believe Phase 8 might able to actually just wrap up. So, either way though, that's as far as saying goes, we can pretty much expect about the fact that we can finish the game during today. So as a result though, before we move on to the next Metroid game in the lineup, which is of course Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo, everyone else's fan favorite game of all time, just because of how incredible Super Metroid is. Because let me tell you, Metroid 2 Return of Samus, at the end of the day though, I thought it was alright. It's not the best Metroid game I've ever played. I mean, it certainly is a bit lower when it comes to the 2D Metroid games perspective-wise, because I know for a fact that it does have some bit of issues, which I think I've already addressed that since during the course of well, throughout the majority of this Let's Play so far. So because of that though, I'll save my true final thoughts of the game as soon as we get into the forms of the final phase of the game, which I'm probably not going to discuss more details about that, because obviously that we are just about to be able to continue exploring through the rest of the forms of certain areas alike, and especially noticeable that we can need to, like, look after our energy health at the moment, just because eventually at certain points do we actually come across into ourselves another Omega Metroid. So because of this though, yeah, we just need to able to take care of these guys all at once, so just in case we can able to actually potentially try to get rid of them, just for the sake of, like, well, especially noticeable because the game starts to get a bit tough and difficult now. That's only mainly because with the forms of, well, Omega Metroids are just, you know, very aggressive, especially noticeable because, again, you need a lot of missiles to able to actually just to deal with them. So, yeah, potentially speaking though, that's essentially what you have to do for this point, so. But I digress though, and thankfully with all that, you know, full upgrades, especially noticeable with the screw attack, that makes the entire ending conclusion feels a little bit more comfortable and manageable at the same time. Although, another thing is worth noting for this point as well, that we do need that specific beam weapon in order to able to finish the game proper. So in this case though, I did not meant to go down here, because obviously we haven't exactly done Phase 8 yet, so yeah, only 3 Metroids left, and potentially speaking, we're actually getting very close, so. Anyway, so a few things we want to explain while this is going on is the fact that recently, today's date is of course the 27th of October today, in this case in 2022 today. Now I just want to classify for saying about the fact that today's day it is the happy 5th birthday when it comes to the release of Super Mario Odyssey for the Nintendo Switch. In this case, without doubt, my favorite Nintendo Switch game of all time. I know some tiny people disagree, but honestly guys, I fall in love with the game. Especially noticeable because, well again, that we're going back to the classic 3D Mario's roots since, you know, Super Mario 64 and Sunshine with all that open world kind of area, or sandbox territory. But regardless of such though, it does have some bit of an easy side of things in regards to the forms of trying to ruin the challenge by simply able to have not only like hints that are able to actually help you out, but also how easy it is to get, you know, for the sake of obtaining more, you know, power moons alike. But either way though, because chances are though, everything else will be pretty much expected when it comes to likely for, I don't know what you would call it. And also I still really enjoy the Jump Up Superstar theme song, because especially noticeable it's the most iconic thing for the Nintendo Switch era. Especially because you know how the fact that since about a month ago, that obviously we've already gotten, you know, Pauline and Diddy Kong is now joined into, you know, Mario Strikers Battle League Football recently. So as a result though, it makes sense to able to actually obviously try to able to join in more of the phrase for Pauline for certain Mario spin-off titles, which is amazing, kind of think about it, because that was actually the 3rd time in a row that Pauline now managed able to start to shine when it comes to certain Mario spin-off titles. The only exception being Super Mario Party and Mario Party Superstars, sadly. And also on top of all that stuff, though, Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020, just because I almost first thought to myself about the fact that I almost first thought that she was going to be involved with gymnastics fall, or floor rather. But it turns out it never planned, so because they actually decided to manage to dip down certain guest characters from the sake of the films of the Tokyo 2020 from the likes of the Rio 2016 counterparts, but oh well, not the end of the world personally, but either way though, which reminds me about the fact that during the course of my research, about the fact that with the films of Sochi 2014 Winter Olympic Games, when it comes to Mario and Sonic games, technically speaking, that was generally the second and the final game to be taking place in a Winter Olympics kind of environment. I'm guessing it's because the Sochi 2014 installments didn't sell very well. I'm pretty sure that's what that's going to be represented with, although I may be wrong, or perhaps even maybe because it's been heavily criticized when it comes to bad motion controls alike, but either way though, it knows what it is, I guess. And here's the forms of another Omega Metroid, so this will actually be, if I'm not mistaken, this will be the last time we can able to actually dish out the forms of the Omega Metroids, and because of that though, although I kind of think about it though, I think I somewhat made a mistake right there, because it has been about 2 days ago since I actually last recorded this, because obviously we need to get this game finished before we move on to, well, what else? The forms of, you know, Super Metroid, so let's face it though, I'm actually really looking forward to able to dive right into Super Metroid basically, so because of that though, everything else will be pretty much accounted for. Oh yeah, that will be the last time we're going to be able to stumble across Omega Metroids, yes, because I was right after all, because if the counter still says 1, by the way, this means we've only got 1 Metroid left, so this means we have done basically everything for Phase 8. So now we move on to the 9th and the final phase in terms of, well, Metroid 2 Return of Samus. So I'm very curious to see how that's going to be presented with, especially because, well, relatively speaking though, that, you know, we're basically almost done with the game, basically. And because of that though, hopefully, we shouldn't have too much trouble with that specific stuff. And thankfully, if we managed able to make our way back onto that previous screen as we've accidentally come across into from earlier ago, well, basically, that the lava itself is gonna be no longer existent. So because of that, though, we can just, well, simply just make our way to, well, that specific part. But, first off, we just want to point things out right away, that, this particular video itself is actually a bit shorter in comparison to the forms of how it does on the previous parts of this playthrough so far. That's only mainly because, well, we actually getting very close towards the end, as I said before, but, hopefully by that time we'll do Super Metroid by the end of this year at some form or another, and especially noticeable we can potentially try to able to do a redo Let's Play of the original Zelda 1 for the NES with better quality, as well as better commentary at the same time, and hopefully the video cap, or the video views cap, will be a little bit more higher than the forms of how it does it back in 2018 version, which it was no longer there anymore, sadly, just because, well, I just simply double check on the forms of some issues that I've encountered, so. Alright, so here we go, on to phase number 9 now, and because of that though, I think everything else about in this room, it seems to be, well, a lot more quieter than ever, especially that there's no enemies to be found, so it's just a matter of like, well, getting all the way up to the top right here, and exponentially, that we can basically decide able to find ourselves. Well, sometimes this area might take a while to climb up, but thankfully we did somehow make our way towards the next room, that, or specifically the next area, I should say, as far as this is concerned. But of course, watch out for these little lava, I'm assuming so, and it's gonna have to able to keep jumping, and that's all we have to do for this point, so. Anyway, so let's just go ahead and keep on moving, and I think if we keep on utilizing the forms of some, you know, screw attack, space jump sometimes, and then basically we can potentially try to able to make our way to the correct route, and that way we should be able to find ourselves, hopefully we're able to actually save a game, so just in case we can able to actually just make our way towards the end of the game, basically. So either way though, we can potentially try to able to keep on utilizing screw attacks, and also space jump, you know, as well, I guess, so... But again, it's been about a couple of days since I actually last recorded this, like I said before. That's only mainly because not only that Mexi, he's almost going to be finishing up with the forms of Super Mario 3D All-Stars, but also I've been busy playing through, you know what I mean, Mario Plus Rapid Sparks of Hope recently, which I still enjoy it still. Especially, I cannot wait able to play that game on my own time, just for the sake of the forms of how, well, I've already mentioned about the forms of my first impressions already. Ever since about a week ago, gee, I can't even believe it's been about a week ago already, since when that game first came out on the Nintendo Switch during that time, so... Anyway, so, oh jeez, this, area seems to be kind of lengthy almost, but thankfully we've managed to find a safe point, and now we need to space jump all the way up here, and exponentially we stumbled across a... Oh wait, that's not lava, that's water. Oh jeez, I keep on forgetting about the visual identity right here, but again, it has been about a couple of days since I actually last recorded this, like I said before, but I do apologize for that. So either way though, let's just go ahead and I need to find a way to able to get up there. There we go. Thanks, space jump sometimes, because obviously sometimes, excuse me, like I said before that, sometimes the space jump can work sometimes, but most of the time it works temperamental sometimes, but regardless of everything else though, that's not much else I can honestly try to explain, so... Anyway, so before we hit on to the final point in terms of this entire game already, is the fact that we need to find something specifically, not only that we need to able to restore our health, but also restore our missile expansions, and also we need that specific beam in order to able to deal with the final point of the game. So as you can see, we've stumbled across the health regenerator, as well as the missile regenerator, so that'll be a good spot. Especially noticeable if you're having a hard time with the game, then this will be the best area to find. So, although you're gonna have to constantly need to be able to utilize the forms of space jump a lot, so that might be something worth noting for the sake of, well, convenience of that, usually as far as this is concerned, so... Anyway though, since we actually have ourselves our long beam with us throughout the majority of the game so far, well, mind you about the fact the matter is though, it is still powerful, but I don't think it's gonna able to help us towards the end of the game, because let me tell you, that if you're following through our Let's Play of the original Metroid, you know how the fact that to deal with Metroids, that specifically with those regular Metroids, that in order to able to deal with them, basically you have to use the Ice Beam, and then basically you're gonna have to able to just freeze them, and then use the missiles to able to kill them, just like instantly, so... Anyway, so the reason why we came in here is because of not only that, potentially speaking, we can able to actually go for the specific, points right there, but, potentially speaking also, that, we've somehow managed to make our way... Oh, did not meant to fall down here. Well, I meant to... Ah, come on! Space jump sometimes, it can really mess me up sometimes. So anyways, the reason why we came in here, because we need to obtain the Ice Beam. Because, obviously, if you're following through, like I said before, the original Metroid Let's Play, basically though, the Ice Beam is recommendable, because obviously if you don't have the Ice Beam at all, it's basically unbeatable. So because of that though, again, just like the first Metroid game, you have to simply obtain the Ice Beam until you're able to beat the game. So, good thing to double check on that, so just in case before you get started with the final point throughout the game. So in this case though, let's just go ahead and, okay, so there's a door right here. So I think the music is starting to get a little bit more creeped up, but regardless of such though, I think we can do this just fine. So, anyways, let's hit up here, and oh look, there's that mysterious egg. So, I wonder what that's about. What the heck is going on with this Metroid counter? Aw, you kidding me? That counter is going up from 1 to 9. Oh, jeez, I wonder what that's all about, huh? I mean, God knows if... Original Metroid! Yes, I call it, because, yeah, just like the original game, you need to use the Ice Beam in order to freeze them, and then kill them with the missiles, so... Nothing new from here, especially noticeable about the fact that, well, thankfully, that those Metroids are not much of a threat. Although the only time is a little bit too threatening though, is the fact that if you don't be very cautious with utilizing your shots sometimes. But regardless of such though, yeah, seems that the Metroids have been brought back, so yeah, that seems very standard stuff, doesn't it? So, and exponentially, you don't need to worry about the forms of multitude of hazards this time, so there's no annoying donut ring projectiles, as well as the forms of a pool of lava or anything, so it's just a very simple, straightforward room to room, trying to deal with some more Metroids, and basically that's all you have to do. So, even though sometimes they move unpredictably fast at one point, although the only time it's quite hazardous around here is the fact that you have to avoid spikes, especially noticeable if you try to deal with some difficult platforming, and especially noticeable since I unfortunately got caught by the forms of that particular Metroid that was about to suck me up, but thankfully we did somehow manage to freeze him, so, and then potentially we can able to leave just that. However, here's the thing though, I don't think you can able to get yourselves your health back or missiles back. So because of that though, we have to do this the hard way. So anyways though, so looks like we're gonna have ourselves, I would say, 2 Metroids left before we take on the very last Metroid. So hopefully we're able to accept this fate, and I think this might actually be the last Metroid we can deal with. So there it goes. And once again, the screen starts to vibrate, or starts to shake, meaning that we've only got one more thing left. And that will have to be by the forms of, well, after we stumbled across this very tricky section with that, you know, these utilizing space jump, try to avoid spikes. And from here, this is where we stumbled across the final boss in Metroid 2, Return of Samus. And as you can see, her name was the, well, Queen Metroid, which as a result though, she's pretty easy when you get the down a bit, but you have to be very cautious not to get hit most of the time. And because of that though, well, if you do somehow manage able to almost try to give up on this fight, well basically there's actually that little tiny hole underneath, and basically what that means is that that hole right there will actually take you to the recharging station. So if you're having a hard time trying to deal with those Metroids, or if you run out of health almost, or potentially if you run out of your missile count, this will be a great spot for you if you managed able to find the recharging station. So, anyways though, so basically you got to use the actual missiles, and then basically though, all you have to do is basically keep on attacking her. And if she able to try to eat you, then you can potentially try to able to use the multiple bombs if it's possible. But most of the time though, she's pretty easy, because all she really does is that she extends her neck a bit, and then basically it's your chance to able to shoot her as soon as when, well, she just stops moving a little bit. The only time it's a little bit tricky though is the forms of the amount of attacks that she's gonna pull off with. But regardless of such though, well, assuming if you have a lot of energy tanks to spare, and especially noticeable with a lot of missile expansions, then there she goes. There goes Queen Metroid, and as you can see, that section right there is actually closed off, meaning that we actually now ended up in the ending portion of the game. And also, no countdown self-destruct sequence, which is a bit different. And also, we stumbled across an egg. Oh my lord, it's a baby Metroid, which is actually mistaken by the forms of Samus as the forms of a mother of any sort. So, that's a bit strange. But anyways though, as you can tell, unlike the first Metroid, where basically there's no countdown self-destruct sequence, so it's just the fact that we have to escape the entire SR388. So, yeah, that's all there is to it. And also, we actually got our full health back, so that's something, I guess. Although, the actual missile count does not increase back up. So, yeah, basically, that's all you have to do for this point. Is you have to escape, and that's all you have to do here. So, simple to the point, and there's no complications to be found, aside from the fact that sometimes my space jump momentum, sometimes it feels a bit too screwy sometimes. But either way though, sometimes it takes a bit some time to get used to it, I guess. So, freedom at last. But before we head off towards the Metroid's mothership, basically though is the fact that we have to double check on certain areas before anything else happens. So, and I guess we got able to, is this the way that I'm supposed to go to? Although potentially I'm gonna have to keep on utilizing space jump a little bit more, so there we go. So we've potentially now make our way to that point, and exponentially, that's all there is to say. Because as far as I'm aware, yeah, I can definitely see why that this game is often being considered to be the black sheep of the series. Because first off, I hate when you get able to do one thing at a time because of lava blockage. And also, for that entrance to SR388, this thing is closed off. So what you have to do is basically we need to get onto the actual Samus' mothership, and that's the game, folks. That's clearly the end of the game. So basically we escaped, you know, SR388. So yeah, and then the credits roll basically, while Samus is doing this awkward walking animation. So yeah, overall, as I said before, this game is okay. I mean, it's not my favorite Metroid game I've ever played, but I think personally Super Metroid just somehow tops it though. Like, first off, I think the presentation is okay, except the fact that there's a lack of music in certain areas, and also on top of that, although there are some music playing, but the themes themselves are incredibly dull to me. I think it's probably because of this Game Boy's limitations. Because of that, though, I just found that not that memorable in my opinion. And on top of that, again, it's just a lack of progressioning about the fact that you can't do multiple things at a time because of the lava blockage. And because of that, though, the linearity is definitely gone, though. So because of that, and thirdly, though, is aside from those Metroids and the Queen, there's not any of the new types of bosses in this game, which to me is just an incredible letdown to me. And I wish there was more variety with those bosses selections, though, because honestly, there's no Ridley to be found, or anything else for this matter, though, and it's really not that much of a challenge if you're not careful. Fourthly, I'm not a fan of how beam precision just somehow works in this game, because like the original game, you can only take one type of beam with you, but at least it wasn't until whenever we get to Super Metroid and onwards though, thankfully those beams are usually attached to each other, so because of that though, I'm not exactly the biggest fan of this game personally, although it does manage able to get huge steps forward in terms of progressioning from the likes of in the first game, but those glaring issues are glad to ignore, so because of that though, I think this game is okay. You can still able to get this on the emulator if you want to try it, or get the game oh wait a second, you can still technically get the game digitally though, assuming if you're able to actually have, oh jeez, this is actually hard to explain because it's been a very long while since I actually mentioned about that stuff. And also if you beat the game fast enough though, basically that Samus just take her suit off, so that the hero can somehow flow in space apparently, so yeah, I guess that pretty much summarized Metroid 2 Return of Samus. I think this game is okay. It's not the best game I've ever played, but it's okay. So either way though, but I'm glad that I managed able to do this Let's Play for you guys out there. So yeah, this is me, Proto Man, from the likes of the Maxi Toys. As I said before, the next Metroid game we're going to be tackling through is not other than the best game of all time, which is Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo, because we're jumping onto 16-bit. So yeah, just like Super Mario World, alongside with any other Super Nintendo games out there, it will certainly have a great time, especially noticeable because, you know what I mean, 16-bit somehow rocks back in the day, in the 90s, so either way though, but we'll stay tuned for that, so we'll see you guys until at that point. See ya.